Self-observation is one of the most underrated but powerful techniques that you can do to evolve, change yourself, find your true self, live your best life, but nobody seems to do it. So in this video, I want to share with you why you need to start observing yourself, how this will free you, and how you can actually go about it. So if you think about people traditionally, generally speaking, how people try to change is we tend to use willpower. I'm just going to force myself to do something until I do it all the time. And don't get me wrong, there is a time and a place for that. And it's a good starting place. But if you've tried that, you'll probably realize that, you know what, there's better ways of going about this. I don't have to constantly will myself and force myself to make some change. Because when you're always forcing yourself, it's like you're pushing against a lot of your unconscious programming. That's why it feels so difficult to always will yourself to do something, because you have 95% unconscious programming that runs you. And when you're trying to develop a new habit, it's literally like 5% of you is going against this 95%. And you're trying to force yourself to change, right? And as you can probably see, that is not very successful for most people. And you've probably had experiences of this yourself. Because you just don't have enough energy. It's an energetic issue. Your subconscious holds way more energy than your 5% conscious mind. So to swing the odds in your favor, you need to reclaim the energy in your subconscious mind. Now, the good news is we can tap the subconscious mind for the energy that's there, reclaim it, so we feel like we have more energy. So it feels like we literally have less resistance. I mean, these figures are just kind of approximate estimates. They're not accurate, but let's say you had 5% conscious awareness. If you grew that to 10%, right, you would have twice the amount of power that you have now. And your subconscious resistance would reduce. Even reduction by 5% would feel like you can just do so much more. That's how much power your subconscious mind has. You don't necessarily need to reclaim all of your mind, because you probably can't. Most of your subconscious programming is things like your bodily functions. You don't want to have to worry about that. So there's a big chunk of your unconscious programming that you want to leave alone. But there's a lot of it we can reclaim through things like your habits, your thought patterns, the way that you feel, your emotions, these reactive habits and patterns that you have. That's where the energy is. That's where we tap into it. It's like you're mining for energy, and we mine for the energy in these unconscious habits and patterns and feelings and beliefs that we have. So how do we go about this? So obviously, like I've talked about, self-observation is a great way to start tapping into that unconscious energy that you need to help you expand. So it's quite simple. The description is in the term self-observation. You simply want to observe yourself. How am I thinking? How am I feeling? How am I acting? When am I reacting? When am I reacting out of proportion? When am I getting angry? When am I feeling anxious? Like all of these sorts of things. What you'll probably find is in certain situations, you react. Maybe around certain people and certain environments, it changes who you are being. And because you're allowing, obviously unconsciously, you're allowing things to influence you in that way, that means that you can change how you are being influenced. You can take that power back. You don't always have to be an anxious person. You don't always have to be an angry person or resentful person. These are just habits that you have programmed yourself with, or you're being programmed with, and now they control you. One key insight is that your programming, it's all emotional. Even when it comes to thoughts and belief systems and how we act, they're usually a byproduct of how you've been programmed, and you've been programmed emotionally. So by paying attention to what I am feeling, I'm recognizing the program that is running me. And as you begin to observe it, it starts to lose its hold. Now, it starts to lose its hold only when you observe it from, let's say, a detached place. So let's use the example of anxiety. Say you walk into a certain environment and immediately you feel a bit anxious. Usually you would just kind of go along with it, and you would get caught up in it, and you would think, oh my God, I'm this anxious person. Everything is overwhelming. And because you do that, you feed into the pattern. When you feed into the pattern, you're strengthening it, and it's making it harder for you to free yourself from it. Imagine a lot of your negative patterns, they're like an entity that wants to feed off you, right? You created them unconsciously, and now they want to live. They want to survive like everything else. So it comes up, it wants your energy. Using the anxiety example, it's the anxiety entity comes up. It wants your energy. You feed into it. You believe it. Now you're feeding it. You're giving it life. You're making it survive. When you go into observer mode, you go into this environment, you feel that impulse of the anxiety come up. It wants you to identify with it. But over time and with practice, you can get to a place where you're just observing. You see it, you see all the feelings and the impulses and the reaction, all of that stuff. Maybe your nervous system's getting triggered. You're just not feeling good anymore, but you're just witnessing it all. You're observing it. As you're observing it, you're not feeding it anymore. It's only when you go unconscious do you feed it and keep it alive. And the more you do this, the better you get at it. At the beginning, it might take some time because a lot of these patterns have been running you for so long, potentially almost your whole life. So at the beginning, it's a little bit difficult. But as you continue to just observe and observe and observe, stop feeding your energy into it, you start to reclaim the energy that was keeping this entity alive, this anxiety alive, right? Because that anxiety is just a pattern in your unconscious. By observing, not feeding into it, you're reclaiming the energy, okay? As you reclaim the energy, your consciousness grows. If your subconscious has less of a hold on you, your conscious mind might go eventually from 5% to 10% conscious power. That'll change your whole life. And you just do this with as many of your unconscious habits, tendencies, and patterns that you have. Now, the funny thing is, the more you start to observe, the more that you'll see about yourself. And you'll just start to find more and more and more things, because we take a lot of our habits, a lot of our programs, a lot of our belief systems, we take them for granted. But as you begin to explore them and just observe them and question them, not feed into them, you reclaim so much energy. You reclaim so much energy, you truly start to expand. Now, I just want to give you one more tip or idea to get you started, and that would be to just pick one thing that you want to observe. Because if you start out trying to observe everything, it's probably going to overwhelm you. And at the beginning, you need to build that conscious awareness. So by just choosing one thing and just working on it for, say, a couple of weeks, you'll build enough consciousness to then start focusing on other things. So you might have an anxiety pattern. Maybe you get resentful, or you feel, angry sometimes, or depressed. Whatever it is, just make an intention to witness that one thing. You're just going to observe this one pattern for 2 weeks. You're just going to get very, very interested in it. Imagine it's like a science project, and you're just investigating this one habit or pattern that you've got. You can even journal about it and just watch it for 2 weeks. When does it come up? How does it make me feel? How do my thoughts go? How am I responding and reacting to people when I'm like this? Like, just get very, very interested. The more interested you get in it, the more conscious you are becoming of it. The more conscious you become of it, the less you are it. Because when you are observing, you are not it anymore. That's when you stop feeding it your energy. And that's when you reclaim the energy that you were feeding into it. And over time, you'll just stop feeding it, and the habit will just fall away. Feel the emotions. Like I said, a lot of the programming that is running these habits and beliefs and thoughts, it's emotional programming. So what are you feeling? Right, that's probably one of the biggest things to recognize when these triggers or patterns come over you. What's the underlying emotion? And then just feel that as well. Allow that to release and process that. And over time, this will just become a very, very powerful practice that you'll just probably start doing automatically. You'll recognize when you're feeling triggered or reactive, And your brain will automatically just go into observer mode, right? Because you'll have trained yourself, and you'll just stop going unconscious. And that's what this whole game is about. You'll just become very, very conscious. And more of the things that you do, the actions that you take, will be a lot more intentional rather than just programming. Okay? And eventually, you'll have less resistance to live life with more freedom, more expansion, and to really do the things that you want to do. Okay? So try this out. So I hope this video helps some of you out. That's everything I'm going to talk about here. If you want to watch more videos like this, check out these videos right here. But until next time, God bless.